Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is a paid request for Alban. Thank you so much for that. For those interested requesting any type of videos, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal. Do have a CashApp as well. Links are down below in info box, and I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. So, thank you for that. Now, this is for Gunga Din, or I guess the way they pronounce it, Gunga Din. But I'm going to say Gunga Din just because I feel like it. But it came out in 1939. Now, I know this is a film that I didn't mind it at the end of the day. I thought it was okay. A lot of people really put it on a pedestal. You could tell that there's some inspirations taken from this and put into Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, because it does involve the thuggy Indian murder cult, which you see in Temple of Doom. There's a scene with a rope bridge. Doesn't play out like Temple of Doom, but there's a rope bridge that collapses and people fall like the end of that scene, so I guess there's that point. From what I understand, I don't know if this is true or not, but I think it was Rian Johnson, like either J.J. Abrams, I want to say it's Rian Johnson. One of them told the cast and crew to watch this film before they did their Star Wars movie. I'm like, why? To see what a good film is compared to your shitty film? Because I do think it's good at the end of the day. It's not a film I rewatch. I wouldn't say I loved it, but it definitely has that old-fashioned, of course it's 1939, but definitely a bit of a scale to it when battle scenes happen, and there's a lot of extras at play here. A lot of background extras in these battle scenes. And the movie at times plays off a bit more like a screwball comedy as well, which was, I didn't expect that, but that was interesting. Started by George Stevens, who did the James Dean film Giant, among other movies. And the stars are Cary Grant, big star at the time, Victor McLaglen, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. They play three British sergeants. Them, along with their, not a guide, at first he's like a water bearer. Bring me the water, Gunga Din. It takes place in 1880 India. The British soldiers are there doing what they need to be doing. Pretty much they gotta find what's going on with these natives. So they get these three sergeants. Cary Grant, the first time we see him, he's in this kind of, I don't call it a drunken brawl, but it's a brawl all the same, where there's some funny bits to it. Like hit with the chair and Cary Grant going, oh, wait a minute, oh. So almost remind me of something Jackie Chan would do on that bit. And so they get into a fight. They have to explain to their commanding officer, and they mention about how this guy sold me a map, and it was the wrong map, and it didn't work out the best. Either way, they put on this detail. Some natives come in, sneak up, and kill some of the guards. This big battle happens. And you do some exciting stuff. I mean, there's even a bit where there's dynamite. They gotta shoot the dynamite, and it blows stuff up. There's these ladders. You gotta push the ladders to keep them down there. Now, there isn't a ton of action. I would say there's that bit, and probably the next time you get a big action piece is near the end of the film. Now, it does slow down a bit in the middle. Depends how you feel about these three actors. I thought the three actors, especially Victor McLaglen, I really did like him. He felt like a more rough and tumble guy, but I liked his demeanor. I liked his personality. But I thought all three did fine. They definitely had some chemistry. They tell their buddies who've been in the game for a while, and they each have their own things they're going through. For example, like Gunga Din, he wants to be a British officer, and Cary Grant's kind of teach him a little bit about how to walk and how to stand like a soldier. Douglas Fairbanks Jr., he's in love with this girl, and he wants to leave the military in order to get hooked up with her. But the other two are a bit bad about that. Which I'm like, you're mad that he wants to get some poontang pie? You're mad that he wants to be happy with a girl? What, do you two want to fuck him? But you know, it's they don't want to miss their friend. They'll miss their friend, but they don't want their friend to go, is what I mean. You have the other guy, Victor. He is dealing with this elephant who needs to take this medicine, and eventually does. Him and Terry Grant taste this medicine. They put it into the punch to pull a prank. But then there's their commanding officer. They gotta find a way to get it away from the officer. So you get some screwball antics when they're like putting their hands in the punch and other stuff and trying to get them away. But when this other guy who's going to take over for Douglas Fairbanks Jr., they don't like him. They don't want that to happen. So they give him the punch, and he, because of the medicine they put in, he just knocked the fuck out. Eventually, Terry Grant gets drunk. He wants to go on this other treasure hunt. He's not supposed to, so they lock him up. Gunga helps Terry Grant get him out by using an elephant to break down the cell. The two of them go off to try to find this treasure, and that's where they find this thuggy Colt. Terry says, Gunga, you need to go get help. I'll provide distraction. He does. Victor and Douglas thinks there's something. They don't think it is as bad as they're explained it is. So they go just by themselves, and then they get caught. They get tortured a bit. They get whipped a bit. Eventually they escape. They hold up, and the cavalry is arriving. And after fighting a bit of the bad guys, spoilers, Terry Grant gets hurt, Gunga gets hurt. They both get stabbed by a bayonet. Of course, it's 1939, so you're not going to see much of anything. In fact, by this point Terry Grant's been shot, so he's crawling. When you see the guy put the bayonet to him, you can clearly tell that's like right over here. So imagine he's laying down and he jams it like right there. So you clearly tell it's not hitting him. I'm like, there's better ways you could hide it. Like, just don't show that angle. Just show this, and then you see like a little patch of blood or whatever you can. It's black and white, so you're not going to see much anyway. But the fact that the angle where he slams down, and you see is like all the way over here. I know that's a little thing. And pretty much they're just fighting a little bit until Gunga goes up, blows the horn, warning them there's going to be an ambush. Then it's a bunch of the British guys fighting a bunch of the thuggy guys. Gunga gets shot. And your main characters don't really get to do a whole lot because they're injured. They just avoid some explosions. That's more the other military guys fighting the thuggies. That's where there's a bit where they're on a bridge and they cut it and people fall off the bridge. Similar to Temple of Doom. At the end, where everything's said and done, the three soldiers are with their commanding officer and I think Rudyard Kipling. Yes, the Jungle Book. Because I think it's based on his poem. So a guy playing Rudyard, can't even say it right. Rudyard Kipling says the poem. Did a swig in hell from Gunga Din. And then the last shot is, I guess, the spirit of Gunga Din finally getting his British clothing, military clothing. Because that's what it is. Once you die, now you gotta go into the military. How awful would that be? You're dead. Where do I go? Heaven? No. Hell? No. Thank God. But you're going to military. Shit. Now, the film itself, I do think that the three actors had good chemistry with each other. I think they played off each other fairly well. It depends how you feel about those 30 screwball comedy elements. To me, it's a little bit charming, but I kind of grew up with that kind of stuff. Seeing the Three Stooges, Red Skelton, Abbott Costello. I don't think this is as good as any of those, but, you know, some of those kind of elements of comedy I don't mind. I prefer over toilet humor or other shit. When the set pieces happen, there's, like I said, definitely a bit of a scope and the amount of extras they had, how they could go for it for this stuff back in the day, with the tools that they have, that they couldn't rely on a computer and other shit like that to deal with. Gunga Din, I mean, the guy who plays this, you gotta remember it's a different time. It's a different time, guys. So no, it's not an Indian. It's, I think, a Jewish guy from New York that they just painted. Same with the guy who plays the bad guy. I'm like, yep, these clearly are not Indian people. It's just people painted up, and which I find ironic that the same people that were probably shit on Apu on The Simpsons, they're fine with this, even though you could say stuff about this as well. And hell, you could easily argue Apu is a better character than Gunga Din in this, but and it's just one of those things. It's just funny if people become hypocritical on that note. But it was a different time, so I'm not going to get all butthurt about it or anything. It's definitely of note. It's definitely of note to mention, but it was what it was back then. That's just how it was. And to be fair, Gunga Din, like, he's very passionate about the British. Now, again, you need to talk about how back in the day, the British, maybe in a way they were like terrorists, or they were like about colonialism and taking over people's land, and I don't want to get into all that. It's just meant to be entertainment. It's just meant to be a movie. I guess for me, honestly, like, liking the actors, the main three, the rapport with each other, when the battle scenes happen, the bit of a scope they had. I wish the three had a bit more to do at the end. I kind of wish it was just the three of them, or I guess four with Gunga, dealing with the Thuggy cult. So maybe they use their wits to use their weapons against whatever the weapons the Thuggy have. Or maybe they escape and then they can't reach their military in time, so they create these traps or create these obstacles to try to fight the Thuggy cult. Or just use a lot more like firepower and action to really take care of these guys. I was hoping it'd be kind of that way, whereas these three, again, forward Gunga, against the world. But no, it's pretty much they get caught and then they escape. They fight a little bit. The leader, who they have as a prisoner, he jumps off because he doesn't want to be used as a hostage. So they fight a little bit, and when the cavalry comes in and Gunga warns them with the horn, they do most of the work. Cary Grant can't really do anything because by this point he's been shot and stabbed. So he's pretty much out of the game for the big action scene. The other two don't really have a whole lot to do. They're kind of just there waiting for the rest to do their business. So I'm just so used to action movies. I'm so used to these type of films where the main characters are the one being in the thrust of the action, thrust of fighting the bad guys. Like Indiana Jones even. Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom, when he's getting the kids out, or the escape with the mines, or chopping the damn rope bridge. See Kali in hell. You betray Shiva! You betray Shiva! Temple of Doom I liked a lot more than this. I'll put it that way. Much, much prefer Indiana Jones than the Temple of Doom. Much, much prefer. Yes, even with the lady streaming and streaming and streaming some more. Indy! Yes, even with her, I much prefer that over this. This, though, was a nice curiosity piece. I had heard of the film for many, many years. To repeat the three guys, I think, do a good enough job. The better scenes are the three of them interacting with each other and giving each other grief and trouble, or like when they're having to fight and punch, either when the first big action scene happens and they realize something's screwy going on and they're punching the bad guys out, or when Cary Grant is drunk and Victor has to go knock him out because Cary tries to punch him. Douglas Fairbanks Jr. being mad at the two for getting in the way of him being with his woman. I know you're not that guy with that punch. I know it, and I'm going to say, pretty much, I'm going to get back to you two. Okay, when this date comes, I'm out of here. I guess I just wish the third act would have played off differently than it did, and that our main characters were not as much out of the realm, out of the frame as they were. I don't know if that made sense to people. And let's say it doesn't have as much action adventure as I thought it would. Because I thought it'd be like maybe an adventure of them going through parts of India or maybe going through jungle. Like, it's not really that much of adventure aspect to it. But it was still interesting to watch. It's always interesting to watch these films back to the day in the 30s and being limited to what we have now and what they're capable of and what they have to utilize during their time period. They have to deal with real animals, so it's a real elephant that the one character's feeding the medicine to. It's a real elephant that's breaking out Cary Grant in the cell. It's not. They had to do it for real. Because you can't do it any way else. Any way, shape, or form else, so that was nice. I don't know if people would get offended by the racial stuff. Of course, people say Temple of Doom is racist, which I don't think it is. I mean, if they think Temple of Doom is racist, they would lose their mind with this movie. So, I don't know if people would get that butthurt about it. But as is, I thought it was okay at the end of the day. It was alright. I would never see it again. But it was okay. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.